Welcome to Influential Entrepreneurs, bringing you interviews with elite business leaders and experts, sharing tips and strategies for elevating your business to the next level. Here's your host, Mike Saunders.
Hello and welcome to this episode of Influential Entrepreneurs. This is Mike Saunders, the Authority Positioning Coach, and today we have with us Calvin Quallis, who's the founder and CEO of Quallis Brands Scotch Porter. Calvin, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, so give us a little bit of your background and then what led you to get into this area of business, because this is a product company. This is a personal care product company. And so certainly there's got to be some entrepreneurial journey that led you to this point.
Yes. So hopefully this is not super long-winded, but my story really does start with my mom, who owned a beauty parlor and barbershop when I was a kid. And my brother and I would spend tons of time in my mom's shop. And I'd say some of the most memorable experiences from that time was watching folks come in. Pretty intuitive kid, I guess, in that somehow I could sense which ones didn't necessarily feel their best. They'd sit in my mom's chair or one of the other barbers and stylists' chair and kind of be transformed, get up, look in the mirror, pop the collar, and walk out with an entirely new step. And that kind of really stuck with me. It was I think really this ability for my mom and some of the other barbers and stylists to help people feel better about themselves.
Yeah.
Went off to college, broke, frustrated, like most college students, didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. And by senior year, thought that I would have had that all figured out because everyone around me figured it all out. And so in many ways kind of felt like a loser and didn't feel my best. But I do recall, I'd say on some of those most frustrating weeks, I'd take the last $20 I had in my pocket, I'd get a haircut and kind of leave out the barbershop feeling like $1 million. So I have always known grooming, self-care. Growing up in my mom's barbershop, I actually eventually even started in my own barbershop. Have always known that grooming and self-care had the ability to help people feel better about themselves. And I mentioned that I ended up starting my own barbershop. I was working in finance at a market research firm and just very unhappy and knew that career was not what I should be doing for the remainder of my life. And just decided one day I was coming home on the train, had driven past this place that I have for the last 5 years that I was working, and noticed out of the blue this brownstone building and thought that it would make an incredible barbershop, and decided to just take a bet and open up a barbershop while continuing the daytime job, and spotted an issue. Many of the customers had dry, frizzy damage here and beards, and because I was so bored with the daytime desk job, I went home evenings and weekends and created product and bring it back to the shop and hand off to the customers, and ended up creating something that the customers thoroughly enjoyed, and word spread about our products in our shop, and ended up launching a .com that became very successful for us. 3.5, 4 years later, that success spinned into a launch at Target and Walmart, very successful launches, and we've been there for about a year now, and we're growing our presence there, and the business is doing well. So that's sort of the origin story on how we started.
I love that because it starts off at an early age, because you remember back at your mom's place, and you remember some of the feelings and emotions that brought up. And I literally, at the time of this recording today, I just interviewed someone that was one of the media directors and marketing brand directors for the Harlem Globetrotters. I think he spent 6 or 7 years there, and then also he worked with WWE. Well, the point is he brought up something that I think really relates to what you were talking about there, which is this tradition and nostalgia. And so I think that when you can tie into the emotion, you sell a widget, you sell a product, and you have a competitor or 1,000, right? So you're not the only one that does men's grooming and hair care and beard care and things like that. But when you can tie that into an emotional response of walking out or using that product and feeling better and walking a little higher and holding your shoulders back and kind of having that inner, feeling, I think you've tapped into something that is more than just, oh, this product works well, smells good, and I'll buy it again.
Absolutely. I mean, our mission is to help men feel their best and live their best, most fulfilled lives. And because of such a huge, audacious mission, we've always felt that having really good product is just table stakes. And if that's all you got, you don't have much, right? And because we have such a huge mission, for us, having great products is like we have to have great products. But we do much more than that. We add value to our customers' lives by we have tons of experts that come on. I mean, you can visit our Instagram and see every week we have either nutrition coaches, life coaches, fitness experts, just a whole range of folks that come on, and financial experts that educate folks and deliver value outside of just grooming, because we know that we're very clear that the product that we're selling is not just beard care and skincare products, but it's actually about helping people to feel their best. That's the product that we're selling.
You know, you bring up an interesting point there, and I'm so glad you said it, because I didn't know because the thought crossed my mind is like, wow, Calvin, you ought to bring in life coaches and holistic approach to success in all areas, and making people feel better. And then here's one of the products we have. You guys should check it out. But that's what you're doing. And I think that is such a huge opportunity, because no one has the corner on the market on personal development, let's say. You know, there's a lot of the leaders out there, but I would venture to say, and you would know more, but is the men's personal care industry, I'll bet that there's not a lot of competitors that really tie in everything that you're doing, and then that becomes a real big competitive advantage.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'd say most of our competitors are really focused on product and use. So tutorials on how to achieve the best haircut. And we do that stuff as well, because it's important, right? Style is very important. But I'd say most of our competitors focus on just that. And we're very clear that it is absolutely more of a holistic approach. And you can have great hair, you can have great skin, but if all of the other areas that are in your life are in shambles and you need a little help there, for Scotch Porter to be able to provide advice in some of the areas that are more important to you definitely builds an emotional connection. And that emotional connection is what you need, because it's not acceptable, in my opinion, for brands to just deliver great products. It really is about an emotional connection.
And just out of curiosity, we've mentioned Scotch Porter several times. What's the origin of the name Scotch Porter?
So when we started Scotch Porter, I literally took out a notepad and just drafted a bunch of things that I love. And at the time, Scotch was one of my favorite adult beverages. And Porter is the name of the musician, Gregory Porter, amazing jazz musician with a great voice. So it's just a culmination of the things I love.
That's awesome. It's and then you build a brand around that name, that brand, and then people that are in your target audience know what that is. And I've said this so many times to people, but way back in the day, nobody knew what an Amazon was, other than a big river in, a far away land. So now we know Amazon is Amazon. Well, it's a neat story, Scotch Porter. It sounds regal, so that's cool as well. And then now people build into, or they know what you've been building into the brand. So I think that's really spectacular.
Well, thank you.
So let's talk a little bit about when you're when what you mentioned, you started off with a barbershop and then you went, online. Do you feel like an entrepreneur that because you are a goods and services. You have goods, which is your product, and you have services, which are, the personal care, maybe a barbershop. So you've got both. Do you recommend an entrepreneur that really has something similar to that? Maybe not even in personal care, but should you do both at the same time, or should you establish your brand as one before the other? Go online before going to retail shops, or vice versa?
Yeah, so just going back a little bit. So we had a barbershop. The time that I decided to quit the daytime desk job is the time that I also decided to close the shop and focus just on product. And the reason behind that is because I knew that if I were going to be successful, I needed to focus. And so I made that decision to quit the job and close the shop to focus. In terms of, sort of one or the other, your question about retail, launching at retail, should you do that first or should you launch a .com first? I think it really just depends. It depends on the environment. It depends on the climate. I think at the time that we launched online was perfect. I mean, CPAs, customer purchase, customer acquisition costs and whatnot were super cheap. So we could get a customer for, say, $8 that would spend $50 on an order.
Yeah.
So at that time, it just made a ton of sense. Low barrier to entry, right? It's launch your.com. You put up your 5 or 6 products. You find someone that is a master at Facebook ads, and I don't remember. Instagram was out at that time as well. But find someone that's a master at it and kind of put out really great products, and you could be successful back then. Now it's a lot more difficult with customer acquisition costs rising, and so I would say that our strategy at the time made sense, and I still think that it does make sense, right? Because it allowed us to, without taking huge bets, it allowed us to, really understand the customer, right? To build that relationship with the customer, to know exactly what it is that they're looking for, to tweak and optimize formulas, to tweak and optimize, copy and messaging and how we talk to our customers. So it allowed us the ability to sort of do all that without sort of being on Front Street, right? Being in Target or Amazon. It allowed us to do all that and to become really clear on who our customer is and how best to serve them. So I say focusing probably on one in the beginning is probably best, and I still think that at least building an online business at the very beginning, if you are selling a good, makes a ton of sense before
and like you said, you get the proof of concept. You can tweak and play around with words and messaging. And have you ever heard of or read the book The 4-Hour Work Week by Tim Ferriss?
I have absolutely heard of it. I'm embarrassed to say that I have not read it.
Well, one of the it's kind of an older book, probably, I don't know, 10 plus years old. But one of the examples I remember from that is how he chose the title. And he ran Google ads on title variations. And as people were clicking on certain titles and maybe book covers or whatever, all of a sudden 4-Hour Work Week just shot up, and that was the one that resonated with people. Well, the same exact thing with what you just described. You can really dial in your audience really well based on some way that people respond to ads or messaging. Makes me think about this. What do you do now that you've built a customer base? How do you interact with current customers to make sure that they stay customers, to make sure they know what the next type of product that they could use, or to stay, purchasing from you and know what's going on your social media? Because as we know, many platforms have algorithms where if, using Facebook as an example, boy, if you put a post up and you have X number of people that like your brand, it doesn't guarantee that everyone saw that post because of the visibility algorithm. Also, people are busy. Maybe someone's not on Instagram today and they missed your post from whatever influencer. How do you make sure that your audience stays engaged?
Yeah, I would say that focusing on own channels, email is a big one. So we have built up a pretty robust email list. I believe we have like 750,000 folks on our email list. So we built up a pretty robust email list. And also, as of last year, or the year before last, we've begun to venture into SMS. So we built up our email and SMS or text messaging lists to be able to reach out to customers, not only with updates on sort of the newest product launches, but also when we're launching live events where we have experts, or we're always creating content, video and content that you can read, in areas that I discussed before, physical fitness, nutrition, health and wellness, just a whole host of things that we talk to customers. about. So we really, really leverage our email and SMS list, and we also leverage social. But I think it's super important to understand that we do not own every interaction that we have on Instagram or Facebook or some of these other platforms. So it's very important to build that list, because should those platforms go away, and we've seen it with others, you don't.
We could probably, if we were on, a video right now, we could hold up a microphone and drop it and go, okay, that's it right there. That's the business lesson to take away, because while social media is necessary, man, there are businesses and brands that just kind of turn a blind eye to anything but social media. And we know that we operate at the whim of whoever's pulling the strings behind the scenes of all the major platforms. And who knows if your account gets locked, shut down, whatever, or the algorithms change, or what. But for you to have your external ways to communicate, your email and your text. Now, we don't need to go down this path, but I know for sure that I'm confident that you are careful with how often you communicate with your target audience, especially SMS. Because you think about in marketing, there's a concept called IMC, Integrated Marketing Communication. So you need to have your brand messaging consistent across all channels, and you really should have a variety of ways to communicate to your audience, where if you only email them all the time, then that's easy for them to get annoyed and go unsubscribe or create a Gmail or an Outlook rule that just throws it right in. So you need to have a little email here and there, and then, let's do a text once in a while, and hey, let's do our social media, of course, and then we could do. There's so many ways to communicate with your audience to make it feel engaging but not overwhelming. So I think you've done so good mentioning the external ways that you're really reaching out to people, and that helps you to either tamp down your ad spend if you wanted to curtail that, or at least to helps you to amplify what you're doing to not rely on only ad spend.
Absolutely. And just one other point, a perfect example is like we've recently launched a product. And because we built up such a robust email list, we were able to launch the product to our subscribers first. And the launch of that product, we did about $35,000 with one email blast, right? Yep. So it's incredibly valuable, right? And this is not resends. This is just, we're talking about that first email. It's incredibly valuable to build that list. Yep.
Huge. And I feel it's valuable, also using the word valuable here, but to give additional, added, unexpected value to your list. And that could come from a variety of ways. It could come from a special offer. Hey, you're our valued customer. You're the only ones getting this special offer. This, you won't see this anywhere else. Or, hey, we're going to have this, influencer bring us this teaching or this, training only for our valued customers. So bringing that extra value, it's if you've not read the book, The Go-Giver by Bob Burg, I would highly recommend that, because it's just this concept of giving and serving and going above and beyond, so that people really, kind of stick a pin in your brand in their mind to go, they do way more than sell me the stuff I buy.
Absolutely. Listen, I think you're absolutely right. So one of the things that we do not do is we do not bastardize our email list or SMS list. And so SMS, the only time that we will send someone an SMS message is if we think that we have something fun that they would enjoy, or we have a promotion. And usually, and what we do with the SMS list is folks that have subscribed for that will get first access. So the day before a big sale or a product launch, we will send an email, send an SMS just to that base of customers, so that they feel like they're getting something a bit more for signing up for this list. And then to your point regarding email, if we have an expert on that we think folks that would enjoy, we absolutely share that via our SMS, our email list. And then when we have really great content, we also share that. So we're not really messaging people with, every other day the newest product or a product that we've launched. Most of it is how can we deliver value and be of service to our customers.
So that they feel like because of your brand and the products you provide to them, they feel like a better person internally, externally, and all of that. So I just will wrap that up with that thought, because that's how we started it off, and I think that just is so spectacular. So I really appreciate you coming on, Calvin, and talking about Scotch Porter. Love the origin of the brand, the origin of the name. That was so cool, and it was really great to connect with you. So what's the best way people can reach out and learn more about Scotch Porter?
Yeah, well, first, thanks for having me. Folks can find me personally at Calvin Quallis on Instagram. They can find the brand at Scotch Porter on Instagram and Facebook. And they can find me on LinkedIn as well, Calvin Quallis.
Well, Calvin, thank you so much for coming on today. It was wonderful hearing your entrepreneurial journey.
Thanks for having me.
You've been listening to Influential Entrepreneurs with Mike Saunders. To learn more about the resources mentioned on today's show or listen to past episodes, visit www.influentialentrepreneurssradio.com.